Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Irene Stone, and I will be your moderator tonight for the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors 2nd District Candidate Forum. I welcome you on behalf of the League of Women Voters Education Fund. The League of Women Voters is nonpartisan and welcomes both men and women as members or as donors to our education activities. We neither support nor oppose political parties or candidates for office. We conduct these forums so you may have the opportunity to see and hear the candidates, ask some questions, and make up your own minds. Our co-sponsors for this evening are the Goodland Coalition and Families Act. Information about all of the co-sponsors is available at the back of the room. Cards were passed out as you entered so that questions from the floor can be submitted to the candidates during the second part of the forum. If you need a card, signal to one of the volunteers around the room. It is important that your card have a heading at the top that states your topic, and each card should contain a question on a single subject. Be brief. The cards will be reviewed and questions will be grouped by subject. When your question is ready, please hold it up for collection. We are pleased to welcome the candidates for the Santa Barbara County 2nd District Supervisors, Roger Aceves and Janet Wolfe. Because there is an error in the program, I am going to read the biography for each of the candidates to you, beginning with a statement from Janet Wolfe. Janet Wolfe was elected to the Board of Supervisors in 2006, re-elected in 2010. She successfully fought to restore fiscal accountability and transparency, strengthened services for children and families, protected our neighbors and the environment, and improved our parks. Served on the Goleta School Board 1992 to 2004. Successful business owner, 20 years. For Roger Aceves, the biography reads, Roger Aceves was elected to the Goleta City Council in 2006. Aceves is a decorated former police officer and graduate of the prestigious Federal Bureau of Investigation National Academy. Aceves has served as El Presidente for Old Spanish Days and has been married to his wife Debbie for over 37 years. The candidates have reviewed the format for tonight's forum, which will be as follows. First, each participant will give a 2-minute opening statement. We have chosen numbers here, and Ms. Wolfe will begin. We will alternate between the candidates, so each will have an opportunity to be first and to be last. The candidates will then be asked 4 questions. They have not seen these questions ahead of time, and they will be given 1.5 minutes for response to each one of them. We will then have a 15-minute break to allow our volunteers to collect your cards and for the questions to be sorted. As when we return, we will ask the questions that you, the audience, have submitted. We will allow 1.5 minutes for each response. Finally, we will stop questions by 7:20 in order to give the candidates an opportunity to make a 2-minute closing statement. There will be a break until the next candidate forum for Santa Barbara County Sheriff begins at 7:45. We hope you will stay for that. I would also like to point out that we have a team of timers sitting here in front who will give time signals to the candidates. Well, I think we are ready to begin with opening statements, and we do begin with Ms. Wolfe.
Thank you, Irene. First, I want to thank the League Families Act and the Goodland Coalition for hosting the Candidates Forum. I'm running for re-election to the Board of Supervisors because I have a proven background and experience to continue to effectively represent the residents of the 2nd District. That experience, as you just heard, includes 2 terms on the Board of Supervisors, 3 terms as a school board member for the Goleta School District, and 20 years running small business. I'm very proud that my colleagues have twice elected me to be their representative on the County Retirement Board and appointed me to serve as their representative on the SenCal Health Board. This race will impact our community for years to come. I stand with you to protect our values that we share. We must protect and maintain fiscal stability, community planning that's strategic and balanced, safety and protection for all of our residents, environmental stewardship, and representing the most vulnerable who may not have a strong or loud voice. As your supervisor, I am your voice. As a voice for environmental protection, I'm proud to have the endorsement of the Sierra Club and local environmental leaders. As the voice for strong fiscal management, I have the endorsement of our independently elected county auditor, Bob Geis, and county treasurer, Harry Hagan. As a voice for public safety, I have the endorsement of both city and county firefighters and county prosecutors. As the voice for regional cooperation on complex issues, I have the endorsement of both the Goleta Mayor, Michael Bennett, and Santa Barbara Mayor Helene Schneider, as well as the endorsement of all of the Goleta Council members endorsing in this race, and 3 members of the Santa Barbara City Council.
Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Aceves. Well, I hope we will hold applause. This will eat up our time, and we certainly want to wait until the end, please. Yes.
Thank you. I would also like to thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum and also for providing the Spanish translation. A las personas que hablan español, si quedan preguntas, estoy disponible a contestar las preguntas después de esta junta. Ladies and gentlemen, I am running for Santa Barbara County Supervisor to return transparency, responsibility, and ethics to county governance. You have a right to this. I am committed to working hard to represent the entire county. As a former member and chair of the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments, I have advocated for necessary funds for our communities, and I have worked in collaboration with other elected officials throughout the county to secure more monies from state and federal agencies. I recognize the need to work regionally to seek solutions to our problems. Also, I have served on LAFCO, APCD, and the Youth Gang Task Force. I was also a member of the MTD board, where we fought for funds necessary to maintain an efficient transit system, especially for those that are totally dependent on our transit system. I was elected to the Goleta City Council almost 8 years ago. I am proud of our record of accomplishments. We have helped local businesses create good jobs, and our unemployment rate is the lowest in Santa Barbara County. Public safety is a high priority. We are proud to be recognized as one of the safest cities in our size of the state. I championed the cleanup of abandoned oil debris along Haskell's Beach and voted against development that did not fit in our community. And we won the first battle to save Goleta Beach Park. I am proud of my record. I am also served on many nonprofit boards, such as the Anti-Defamation League, Pacific Pride Foundation, Scholarship Foundation of Santa Barbara, Earl Warren Showgrounds, and the Friendship Center.
Thank you. Now we have 4 areas that questions will be asked from. These areas have been submitted to the candidates, but they have not seen the questions before. The first area is in social justice, and this will begin with Mr. Aceves. What responsibility do you think the county has to address homelessness in our community? What are your ideas for addressing this challenge? We start with Mr. Aceves.
Thank you. Well, first of all, social justice is about building community and bringing people together. That's one of the foundations which makes our county a great place to live, and I'm proud of what our county has done. I'm proud that government has been there to provide the services necessary, but I understand that government cannot solve it alone. It needs partners. It needs nonprofit partners. It needs to energize and provide the leadership for the nonprofits can do the work that government cannot do. And I'm sorry I'm running out of time, but if I get a correction, we do get a minute and a half for...
1.5 minutes, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry. She said, I thought I saw the stop sign. That's why I was a little bit confused. Okay. So the county needs to work with all the cities. We do our surveys, we do our studies, we set up our homeless shelters, but we need to make sure that we're always on top of it. We need to make sure that the most neediest in our community gets a service rendered. And once we get them in a shelter, we have to make sure that they have available to them all the services and make sure that it's there for them and that they follow up with it.
Thank you. Ms. Wolfe.
Thank you, Irene. The County of Santa Barbara takes its responsibility in working with the homeless very seriously. When I first became a member of the Board of Supervisors, I was on a number of homeless committees, and we worked very hard to, at that time, we worked to ensure that we had warming shelters available for our homeless folks. Now we have that original team of homeless advocates has now morphed into a more effective organization called C3H. And that is a county-wide organization of nonprofits and governmental agencies working together to come up with a plan and a process to help the homeless. It's a multifaceted issue. One of the things that's so important is to make sure that folks who are homeless get the services that they need and deserve and require. One thing that the county has been doing that's been very exciting is working with our public health department as it relates to the Affordable Care Act, because many of our homeless folks qualify for the Affordable Care Act. They qualify for Medi-Cal, which in turn provides them with psychological services, access to public health and mental health. Those are the types of things that our county is responsible for, and in fact, we have done an excellent job in doing that. The county specifically works a lot on these issues. We work in cooperation with our cities.
Thank you. The second area of interest is land use and environment. And the question, again, we'll start with Ms. Wolfe on this one, is the county is in the process of updating the 1993 land use plan for Eastern Goleta Valley. As the elected official most involved in dealing with the unincorporated Eastern Goleta Valley area, what are your views on the community plan for this area?
Thank you. This is a very exciting time for the Eastern Goleta Valley. When I came into office, there was a lot of discussion about moving forward with that. When I came into office, I appointed individuals to a PAC. These were folks who worked on the Eastern Goleta Valley Community Plan. They represented the entire Eastern Goleta Valley from Painted Cave all the way to Mesa. They worked with the residents of the community to come together and share the values that we care about in this very wonderful, small, beautiful space. And the things and the values that we care about was an understanding that we needed housing, but it needed to be balanced, and if we were to do that, it needed to be placed in the right place. But one of the overarching concerns of the residents of Goleta Valley was maintaining our open space, but even more important, the very precious agricultural areas that we have. And so that plan was developed with those values in mind. And the Board of Supervisors has moved forward. We have unanimously moved forward to approve the environmental impact report. It's in its final stage right now, and it should be released early in the summer so that we can get more impact from the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Aceves.
Well, this is an interesting question because the city of Goleta is very young, and we've been working on our general plan, and now we're starting our zoning ordinance, which has taken a long time to work on. It's now with the Planning Commission. Our zoning does not complement our general plan. So as we go through the process, we're not changing the general plan, we're complementing it so we can move forward, but we have a wonderful general plan. It protects open space, it provides for the needed services, and it is something that we cherish as a jewel in our community. Now, the community plan that Mrs. Wolfe mentioned has a lot of areas that are sufficiently being addressed, including land use, And I'm really excited about that coming to fruition so that the community has given their voice and their direction as to what they want done in the unincorporated area just east of the city of Goleta. And I support and will defend the community plan once it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Now the third area is financial issues and challenges. And again, we'll start with Mr. Sevis. How do you propose to deal with ongoing financial challenges to the county budget? What is your policy in regard to increasing revenues and/or decreasing services?
Okay, it's very clear that the county government has a financial problem. We are now coming out of the recession. Unfortunately, the county nor the city of Goleta really had a good plan going into the recession. And now we have to make sure that we have a better plan coming out of it. The one thing that we do in the city of Goleta, and I plan to do as a member of the Board of Supervisors, is to encourage our directors to find ways of saving money. Not spending your money, but saving money. It's one thing that government kind of doesn't really think about when we go through the process. When I was with the police department, we were always encouraged to spend every dollar we received because we were afraid that next budget cycle we weren't going to get the money. And that's the wrong way to think. So, you know, a good example of this, we have a wonderful new interim health director, Dr. Wada, who's looking at his office and finding ways to save money. And he came to this board with a plan to save about $1.2 million by contracting out lab services. Instead of congratulating him and thanking him, the Board of Supervisors put it off until the budget hearing process. And then when the budget hearing process came through, he came back and said, you know, we can wait a year. But we should be encouraging our directors to find ways to save money because we don't have an infinite amount of money available.
Thank you. And Ms. Wolfe.
Thank you. Yes, we did have some challenges, to put it lightly, a few years ago in 2008 when we had the big recession that hit all of California and the entire nation. The county was hit with those issues. For those of you who may not know, we have over $800 million for our county budget, and most of that money comes to us from the state and federal government. Approximately $200,000 is discretionary money. That is from our sales tax, property tax, et cetera. We took a big hit during those few years. And I would like to say that it was everyone in the county coming together to get us to the point where we went from approximately a $72 million deficit to where we are today looking at a surplus. And we didn't do it because of the 5 members of the Board of Supervisors made edicts. We did it in a cooperative way, working with our department heads. In fact, one of the things that I instituted was early budget workshops so that we could hear from our department heads and work with them to make strategic decisions. Yes, Dr. Wada made that recommendation to the board, but after the budget workshop, he realized that that was perhaps not the best way to save the money, because in the end, it would have cost that department money. So there is a lot of issues that go into planning for our budgets.
Thank you. And now our fourth area of concern is public health. What do you see as the impact of the Affordable Care Act on delivery of medical and mental health services in the county, including alcohol and drug treatment? And we do start with Ms. Wolfe. Yes.
Thank you. Well, as I mentioned, I serve on the SENCAL board, which I have sat on since I became supervisor, except for 1 year when Supervisor Farr held the position. SENCAL Health monitors and basically serves as the insurance company for Medi-Cal services in Santa Barbara County and San Luis Obispo County. SENCAL Health as well as the county, have been on the forefront in ensuring that folks are aware of the Affordable Care Act. Myself, I held 2 forums, one in Santa Barbara and one in Goleta, to make sure that either CBOs or individuals knew about the Affordable Care Act, because as we all know, one of the most important things is getting people aware and getting them enrolled, and then of course ensuring that we have providers available. The Affordable Care Act, I learned we have done an exceptional job in the county. We have enrolled over 4,000 people for services. What that means is they have access not just to the physical health, but they have access, as I mentioned earlier, to psychological services. So, I love our timers. You guys are great. So by having this access and having the providers available and getting the word out to our folks, of course, makes our community a healthier community. And we are working diligently with our partners in the nonprofit industry and agency to bring people together to make sure that they access these benefits.
Thank you very much. And then Mr. Aceves.
Thank you. You guys are doing a great job with those timers. First of all, we know the goal is to always help those that are unrepresented and underrepresented to have access to good health care. I'm really excited the fact that Dr. Awada has a large group of stakeholders participating and giving input on how to improve what was a dysfunctional department. But also, as we move through and try to provide the best services that we can, we always have to be very careful to fight against unfunded mandates from state and federal governments that impact the quality of service. Again, we must work with nonprofits to make sure that we leverage the monies available so that the quality care is given to each member of our community. And we also, as we come out with a new system, we must monitor the transition to the new system so that we have measurable outcomes that are significant, absolute, essential, and in keeping our community safe. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have completed our first prepared questions, and it's going to be your turn to submit questions. We will take a break at this point so that you may submit those questions, and we will have a time to sort them. Please be brief and to the point in the questions you submitted, and we'll try to answer as many of the questions as we can when we return. A reminder that information from the candidates and co-sponsors is available at the back of the room. Thank you. Welcome back to our program. We now turn to the portion of the evening where we present audience questions to the candidates. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond to each of these questions. Well, as you can see, we had quite an assortment of questions, but one that had several variations on it that I think we want to address is the question having to do with Measure M. Your position on Measure M and why you support it or do not at this point. And I think that we will start with Mr. Aceves.
Thank you. First of all, it's unfortunate that we have Measure M, because I've never understood why we need to have a ballot measure to tell the elected body to do their job. And that just goes with common sense, that you're going to put money away for infrastructure improvement, not only roadways, but your building and maintenance. The county needs to allocate money like we do in the city of Goleta. The city of Goleta, we allocate millions of dollars for roadway improvement because we know that the longer we wait, the more it's going to cost us. So I'm proud of the work we've done in Goleta. The other thing that the county needs to understand is that you have buildings that are not being used to its fullest. There needs to be an assessment done. Do we keep them? Do we lease them? Or do we sell them? And there are many buildings in this county that perhaps we could sell and use the money for infrastructure improvement. There are many buildings that we own. One good example is the county bowl. It's owned by the county, but it's operated by a well-funded nonprofit. What if you challenge them, assess the value, challenge them to buy it, and let them run it? But that's kind of outside the box thinking, that we need to look at all our properties to make sure that we only keep that which we need and can afford.
Thank you. And Ms. Wolfe.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say and thank you to all of you who are here this evening, because this race is extremely important, not only for the 2nd District, but because of what is coming on the ballot, and that is Measure M. I am adamantly opposed to Measure M. It is a wrong-headed approach to budgeting. It is taking a very fragile budget, as we just went through, and basically taking a hatchet to it and pulling out between $18 and $22 million. We have a plan in the county to maintain our roads and buildings. Last year, we spent $45 million in capital money for our buildings. We understand, we have a program, we have a roadmap program, so that we know when and how we get our roads repaired. If anyone's just in Hollister, you can see that we're doing some road repairs right now. We're not forgetting about our roads. We have a plan. We don't need to take $20 million. It will severely impact our public safety department. We have our sheriff in the audience today. He has come out. He is opposed to that. You cannot be in favor of public safety and support Measure M.
Thank you. And then continuing with financial situation, one of the other areas that was discussed with this is what the funding is available for a new jail, but the amount that's necessary for the upkeep of it year for year has not been designated at this point. And what plans would you have, or how would you designate funds for that purpose?
Do you want me to
Ms.
start?
Wolfe, please.
Thank you. Well, I'm very pleased that we're moving forward with a new North County jail. I was with the sheriff when he took the initiative to apply for the grant funding. I went with him up to Sacramento. That grant funding was secured. We're in the process of moving forward to have a jail where we don't have overcrowded conditions and we have better treatment for the folks who are incarcerated. The issue that you raise about how do we fund it once it's built is a question that we as a board have been grappling with. And I don't know if it was Sheriff Brown, it was someone else perhaps, maybe it was my colleague on the board who called our chart, our plan, Janet's favorite chart, because it basically lays out a plan of how we're going to spend the money, or how we're going to allocate the money, where we're going to find the money to pay for the operation of the jail. The sheriff has been an incredible partner with us. He's been working with us to get to that point so that when that jail opens, we have the sheriffs in place, we have the deputies in place, and it's a safe jail for the folks in our community.
Thank you. And Mr. Aceves.
Thank you. Many of you know I spent over 30 years in law enforcement. The jail was overcrowded then, it's overcrowded now. And every grand jury has put it as a recommendation, build a new jail. Sheriff Brown should be congratulated. He went out and actually found the funding. 90% of it's funded by grants and doesn't come out of your pocket. That's an incredible thing. But it's going to require staffing. You know, the stories you hear about law enforcement agencies that had to transport their people from Santa Maria and Guadalupe to Goleta because of lack of funding. Finally, the Board of Supervisors allocated money to reopen the facility in Santa Maria. So there has to be, and the solution here is it has to be a priority to staff it, line item, and commit to it long term. Challenge the sheriff to continue to find funding to assist, to balance, but it has to be a priority. It's long overdue. It needed to be built yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question has to do with fracking and development for oil, and we would like to have you consider your position on that. And we'll start with Mr. Aceves.
You know, there's a lot of research being done right now on fracking. In fact, there was an article in the Times running the last couple of days. But my understanding is that Dogger is currently conducting an environment. Dogger is a state agency in oil, is doing a EIR to study the fracking issue so that we are informed as to what exactly it is. My understanding, there's no fracking in this county, but there is fracking all over the United States. So let's get the research done. Let's know what we're talking about, and then make an informed decision.
And Ms. Wolfe.
Thank you. Well, obviously, oil is a significant industry in this county, but it poses many threats to our environment. And one of the issues that was very apparent to me was when we had many oil spills from one of our larger oil companies in the North County. It was from those incidents that we instituted strong enforcement action against the oil industry if there was to be an oil spill. Fracking is something, you know, Dogger they can keep studying it as long as they want, but I will tell you, the county of Santa Barbara understands the implications of the disastrous impacts of fracking. And we were the one county, the first county, who instituted regulations for any industry, any oil company who wanted to engage in fracking. And perhaps that's the reason why we don't have fracking in our county. It's because we want to hold them accountable. We want to know what they're putting into the ground. We want to know what they're going to take out of the ground, and we want to know where they're going to put it once it's taken out of the ground.
Thank you. Now we're moving to a topic within your area as for the second district, More Mesa. What is your position on preserving More Mesa from development as well? And we start with Ms. Wolfe.
Thank you. There's a lot of issues that relate to More Mesa, and particularly the development is of importance to people who don't just live adjacent to More Mesa. But as I've been walking precincts, people ask me oftentimes what's going to happen to More Mesa. This is a community jewel that we have, and as I mentioned, it was part of the it was when the update of the Goleta Community Plan was being looked at, the essence of More Mesa, the development envelope, remained the same. Since that time, there has been a subsequent environmental study. At this point, there is no development being proposed. So the way I look at it is the folks from More Mesa Coalition are doing a great job. They're interacting with folks as they come forward with potential ideas or interests. They know that my office is open if they need any assistance or help. The main thing is, like any type of development, especially in this amazing place, it needs to be done extremely carefully. It needs to be done with the community being involved. And if we could come up with the money to buy that land, that of course would be the best possible outcome for that area.
Yes, and Mr. Aceves, please.
Thank you. My answer is very simple. I oppose development of More Mesa like I oppose the development of Bishop Ranch. We must maintain open access, so I'm glad to hear there isn't a project come before us, but should there be, I would expect everyone to come forward and let their opinions be heard, because you need to protect More Mesa and access. I remember patrolling that area as a deputy sheriff. It's as pristine then as it is now, and it needs to be protected. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Another area that had several questions has to do with Goleta Beach and what you see as next for Goleta Beach. And I think we will start with Mr. Aceves.
Thank you. This is an area that's very important to the citizens of Goleta. 1.5 million people use that park a year, and I'm so glad that Mrs. Wolfe changed her mind and remove the idea of Managed Retreat 2.0. When the emergency permits were issued to protect the park, one of the options that the Coastal Commission gave was to come back and ask that it remain permanent. We didn't do that. So over 10 years, over $1.5 million spent to come to the end to keep the rock. The right decision, it was a unanimous decision, but now we have to go to the Coastal Commission and convince them the rocks worked, our park is protected, and our people are happy. Thank you.
And Ms. Wolfe.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to set the record straight on Goleta Beach. I have always advocated for the protection of the beach and the park. And if anyone has followed the process, they know that Goleta Beach 2.0 was approved by the Board of Supervisors as a starting point for an environmental review. Yes, I supported it. We all did. It was an option that we needed to look at because the Coastal Commission was saying to the Board of Supervisors, you need to come up with a solution. We did that. We went through extensive environmental review. And I might say the citizens of Goleta have been incredible. In fact, all of the members from the City Council, except Mr. Aceves, came to my office to talk to me about the importance of Goleta Beach. When this came back to the board, and I had reviewed the EIR, there was no question what the answer would be. And I take pride in studying the documents that are before us. And for someone who walked on that beach with her husband, took their 3 daughters to Goleta Beach, I know the importance of that beach. And maintaining or removing the rocks was not the answer, but we needed the facts to support it. And that's what the EIR did. Yes, it took some time, but now as we go to the Coastal Commission, we will have the facts, not the rhetoric, behind us.
Thank you. The next general area has several questions that have to do with the position on the Chumash Casino, its impact on the county, and what our relationship should be with it, what kind of policy should be pursued. And we will start with Ms. Wolfe.
Thank you. Well, I think when you look at the issues of the Chumash, it's not just the casino, but it's the other proposals that they have proposed, which will have a tremendous impact on the Santa Ynez Valley, of looking at the utilization of 1,400 acres for what in one document says will be for homes, and another document says it will be for recreation. I am such a strong believer in the community plan process. This proposal will have a tremendous impact on that community. And what we did at the Board of Supervisors was to simply say, go through the process like every other group did. This 1,400 acres, you have to understand, is not part of the reservation. So that is really that's really the distinction between the casino and this 1,400 acres. Now, going to the casino, the issue of the casino, I have read, just like you folks have, that there's a planned proposal. I don't know much more than that. We will see how that evolves.
Okay. Thank you. And Mr. Aceves.
Thank you. First of all, both Mrs. Wolfe and I serve on LAFCO. And what we deal with is annexations. And one of the things that we have to always protect and not do is create islands. There has to be a nexus. So with regards to the annexation, I'm opposed to it. With regards to the casino, I'm exposed to expanding the casino. But they've already got all the allocations the state allows them to have. They cannot add any more machines or tables. That's it. They want to expand to give people more room. I see nothing wrong with that. But we should be treating them like any other developer. But let's stop now and think about what's happening right next door to us at UCSB. UCSB is buying up properties by the ton. They took over Devereaux. They have Francisco Torres, or the old Francisco Torres. They want to build 2 towers there. All of these are being taken off the tax rolls. There's no county planning that they have to go through. It's all through the state of regents. And I would ask the board to stop and think how much money has been taken off the tax rolls in Isla Vista. And are we treating UCSB any different than we treat the Chumash as far as property owners? The one thing that the board is not doing is sitting down and talking to the Chumash and having a discussion.
Thank you very much. We also have several questions here having to do with the treatment of the mentally ill. Whether we have a plan for intensive residential treatment facilities, whether there's a treatment other than incarceration when they've committed nonviolent minor offenses. What would be your proposal then for dealing with the mentally ill? And we start with Mr. Aceves.
You know, I can't tell you that I have a definite proposal, but I got to tell you the impacts. I remember working the streets as a police officer when it was decided, I believe it was Governor Reagan at the time, to release everybody from the mental hospitals. And now we had to deal with it as police officers in the street. And we had no place to place them. Mentally ill do not belong in jail. They need treatment. So there needs to be a partnership, and there is, with the jail to get the resources, the help that they need to make sure that they don't commit the criminal violations. A lot of it is nuisance crimes. And we've got to control the behavior through help so that they can be, and that's part of, the city of Santa Barbara has a restorative policing service to give them the help so that they don't become a police problem and they don't become part of the jail, because that's not where they belong. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is rather difficult
like,
to...
Irene, would
Oh,
you
I'm
like-
sorry.
Actually, she gets
That's
the
all.
answer.
Sorry.
An important question. When I first got on the board, there was a proposal to close one of our treatment facilities, Casa de Moral. And it was probably one of the worst recommendations I could have imagined, knowing that we have so few permanent beds for treatment. And so we fought very hard. The community came out, and we were able to save that facility. Unfortunately, we have not done a sufficient job in making sure that we have facilities for those folks who need mental care, behavioral care assistance. We just had a very important meeting yesterday with our mental health department, and we were dealing with 2 specific issues for decades. That's what some people said. And we were dealing with the financial piece of mental health care and the clinical piece. We had put together a team of experts, and yesterday people came to the Board of Supervisors and said for the first time in decades, they now felt like we have a good plan, a strong plan, and we are working from the bottom up. So the financial piece we are taking care of, but it's that clinical piece. It's catching people at the early stage. So we still have to deal with the treatment beds and the capital, and that's coming to the board in June, so that is going to happen.
Thank
but we
you
still
very
need to
much.
focus on the clinical piece.
Thank you. I think the reason I jumped a little bit because I was thinking how to word this. As we know, politicians have to raise money to be able to run for elections. And then they are voting on issues that have to do with maybe a large contributor. What is your view? How do you look at how a politician can deal with that in his political career? Both of you have been elected officials. Both of you have been in that situation. Is it recusing? Is it doing other things? And we start with Ms. Wolfe.
Well, thankfully there are rules that we have to follow. We have disclosures that we make to the county, and those disclosures are public knowledge. One of the things that I'm going to be pushing for with Mr. Holland is to make sure that those disclosure forms are online. Right now they are available to the public, but they're difficult to access. So those disclosure forms are online. I'm quite aware of the issues that Mr. Aceves has raised about the fact that I have received donations from employee groups. And what I would ask folks to look at, because I have not made this a big issue, but I think if I'm pleased and I'm proud to receive funds and donations from the people who do the work for the county. The employee groups represent thousands of people. We have over 4,000 people, and I think it's important that we ensure that we have that respect with our employee groups. After all, they're the ones that helped us during this recession. They gave up $56 million to help the county. So someone might ask, well, what? They sure haven't received many favors, but what I think our employees want is they want respect, they want a safe working environment, and when the time comes, a simple raise might help.
Thank you. And Mr. Aceves, please.
Okay, first of all, on the union issue, it's not the question of accepting union money. I have accepted union money. The Deputy Sheriff's Association, who've endorsed me, have given me $10,000. The question is whether or not an elected official should receive $20,000 like Mrs. Wolfe did, and 4 days later vote on their contract. There should have been a disclosure that she received a significant amount of money before she made the vote, or she should have recused herself. Both of us sit on LAFCO, like I mentioned. The rules there are different. If you accept $250 or more per a 12-month period, and an item comes before you, you're required by law to step down. So I would ask every elected official that's in this room, if you were in the same situation where you had $20,000, would you not feel an obligation to disclose it? And now she's received $80,000 from that one entity in 2010 in a race against Dr. Dan Secord.
Mr. Aceves, we're really not directing it at your opponent. We're
Okay.
looking at it as a general question. Please keep
Well,
it that way.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Again, so it's thank you. I knew that was a difficult one, as we know that we do not want to refer to the other candidate at the time, because it's not our format here. It's a different format. So we're going to move to a different area. And this has to do with how you're going to improve and increase economic activity in the area. How will you help local and large growing companies to develop more employment? What will you do to do that? And we'll start with Mr. Aceves.
Thank you. I'm really proud of the work we've done in the city of Goleta encouraging job growth. We have the lowest unemployment in the county, and it's not by accident. It's by this council unanimously supporting working with our Chamber of Commerce, with our Goleta Entrepreneurial Magnet, to encourage startups from UCSB to start in Goleta and build your company. It's that kind of cooperation that we need to have countywide. We, in a small city, we have a $21 million budget. We've allocated hundreds of thousands of dollars towards these projects because we put our money where our mouth is. We want the growth, smart growth, great jobs, and that is what the city and the county can do in forming very strong partnerships. We have a great partnership with the Goleta Chamber of Commerce, and I would take that type of leadership to the Board of Supervisors with all chambers throughout the county, challenge them, work with us to improve our economy.
Thank you. And Ms. Wolfe.
Thank you. Without getting into the specifics, I think it's important that folks understand that, as my opponent talks about the the instance on my vote, which was perfectly legal, and the differentiation between what we do on the Board of Supervisors and LAFCO, which is appointed, needs to be made. But more importantly, folks need to look at my opponent's record and his votes. And without being specific, it's important to know that
Do I get to respond to that?
it's important to know that there was a very important vote that happened at the city of Goleta, and subsequent to that, one of the owners of the development gave Mr. Aceves a fundraising
I think
event.
you are, again,
Oh, okay.
discussing a specific issue.
Okay,
and
then
that
I'll
is
go
not
to the
appropriate.
economic question. Mr. Aceves mentioned that growth is very important. Yes, growth is important for economic development. What I would suggest is the proper growth, strategic growth, and planned growth. And I go back to the Eastern Goleta Valley Community Plan. We don't want growth for growth's sakes. We want it to be measured. If you look out in some areas where there has been tremendous growth, you see the impact to the community. You see extensive traffic. We want to keep the quality of life the way it is in our beautiful community. We don't want it to turn into an orange county.
Thank you. That goes to a next question that has to do partly with the city, but it has a broader impact, and that is the development along the Hollister corridor and what you think should be the development along there. Again, though a lot of that involves Goleta City. So what is your position on the development and continuing development along the Hollister corridor? And I guess we start with Ms. Wolfe.
So the Hollister corridor is, if you're coming from 154, folks have thought of it as the gateway to the unincorporated area. So there was a lot of thought that went into the development of the Goleta Community Plan. I think one of the more contentious issues is what happens to a prime piece of ag land that we have that so many people treasure. And right now, the way that the plan is written is that this parcel will remain in ag. And that is, it hasn't been easy. There have been forces that have been trying to, I don't want to say hijack the plan, but have tried to manipulate the plan so that zoning is changed. My feeling and my stance is that we keep that parcel in ag and we maintain what has been shown in the Eastern Goleta Community Plan. Again, the environmental impact report is scheduled to be released in the summer, and we will have an opportunity to look at that in more detail.
Thank you. Mr. Aceves.
Thank you. I believe the question had to do with the city of Goleta, if I
Well, I said that was a
correctly.
part of it, but
Okay.
maybe the broader view of the
The
Hollister.
city of Goleta's general plan calls basically for all development along the Hollister corridor. And that was the decision of the first council, and the idea was to keep development away from Bishop Ranch. So everything that is being developed now is according to the general plan. We've only had 2 general plan changes. They haven't been built yet, but one of them is Village Los Caneros. When that gets built, they're asking for a general plan change. That's off of Los Caneros. And the other one's a Target. When Target's built, they're asking for a general plan change. The big development that everybody's complaining about right now is West Star. Now, West Star, which is across from Community Rail Marketplace, was a project that was well vetted over a number of years. In fact, former Mayor Connell's in the room. She's the one that modified that plan, reducing the height and eliminating some buildings. And then she subsequently made the motion to approve the project, and it was approved. So everything that we're doing along the corridor is not only planned, but also each development brings with it mitigation to improve traffic circulation along Hollister, Stork, Los Caneros, projects that we could not afford to do. Of course, if we had the money from the revenue neutrality, we could have done it. But we don't have the money to do it, so we're dependent on good projects to be done so that we can derive from them the mitigation. The other thing that comes out of mitigation is building Fire Station 10, which is totally development fee dependent.
Thank you. I think at this point we'd have a general question really that has to do with your position on open space and what you will be doing to either support or to develop space. And so we'll start with Mr. Aceves.
I think I've been
Please.
very clear on protecting the open space and preserving what we have. Our general plan calls for it, and I support it. But I've gone beyond that. Look at what we're doing at Haskell's Beach. We're cleaning it up. It's our only beach. We're cleaning it up and removing the archaic, historic structures that keep coming up every time there's a big storm. So it's protecting the open space to have the butterfly preserve. We invested a lot of money into that and in creating pathways. So we, as a council, are committed to open space beyond what the general plan calls for. And I would certainly take that to the Board of Supervisors to make sure we do the same. Thank you.
Good. And Ms. Wolfe.
Thank you. I do think Elwood Preserve is another one of the special places that we have on the South Coast. One of the things that the Board of Supervisors did is we allocate CREF funds, and we allocated a portion of those funds to go toward the Elwood Preserve project. I've taken stands not only on the Board of Supervisors, but I've also been very outspoken when things have come before the community. For instance, when Measure G was being proposed, which is the Goleta Preservation Ordinance, I came out in front and was in support of that. I put my name out as a supporter, and thankfully that ordinance for the city of Goleta passed to preserve ag land. I was an early opponent to Measure Y, which was the issue that dealt with the transfer of Santa Barbara City parkland to a private developer. Luckily and fortunately, that proposition was voted on in a favorable way. So I have been outspoken in my desire to maintain open space in the 2nd District, in the unincorporated area. It is even more important. If anyone, thank you.
Thank you. Our last question has to do with your experience in fighting sexism, racism, discrimination of all kinds. And I think we'll start with Ms. Wolfe.
Boy, that's a big topic. I think that question is probably the essence of who I am, of fighting discrimination in all forms. And I've spoken out on those issues from the dais. I've been involved with organizations that speak out against women's rights, against gay and lesbian rights. I can't express enough how important this is to me, because as we've been talking about our community and the land, what makes up our community but the people? And if we don't get along and we don't respect each other and we ensure and make sure that we don't call people names or we don't call out someone in a disrespectful tone, we as elected officials are not setting a good example. And you know, one of the things that was so impressive to me, after we lost our house in the Painted Cave fire, the community came together. There was a lot of discord in the community, but boy, once the fire hit, there was an outpouring of support for all of us who lost our house in the fire. And it taught me a lesson that people are inherently good, and we have to build up that goodness in people, and any type of discrimination is unacceptable and will not be tolerated.
Thank you. Mr. Aceves.
You know, the Anti-Defamation League came up with a program called No Place for Hate. And I still carry that button with pride. When I was on their board, that was their effort to fight racism, sexism, discrimination, and we did it as a community. At that point in my career, I was a major crimes detective. My job was being the hate crime investigator. So every hate crime that was committed in the city of Santa Barbara, came across my desk, and my responsibility was to evaluate it, make sure we had the elements, and make sure that the district attorney prosecuted the cases with that enhancement. There is no place for hate in this community. Not now, not ever. Thank you.
And thank you. We are now ready for our 2 minutes closing statements. And in your closing statement, please address any issues you feel that you have not adequately covered at this point. And we'll start with Mr. Aceves.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for their efforts tonight. They always run a well-organized program. It's very impressive. It's incredible. And you should be congratulated and thanked. And, you know, I'm going to share one thing. This is my old high school counselor here, our junior high school counselor. Santa Barbara
true.
Junior High School.
That's true.
So
Many years
I'm
ago.
the product of her efforts, good, bad, or indifferent.
Oh, always good.
Well, tonight you've had the opportunity to meet two candidates with very distinct records of performance and two very different leadership styles. That difference is clear. As I walk the campaign trail, voters are ready for change. The residents of this county are looking for accountability and transparency in government. But what they really want is to make sure that things get done countywide. I will need your vote to accomplish this. And again, I want to thank every one of you for coming here tonight and spending all this time with us. And I hope you stick around to hear the sheriff's forum that's coming right after this. Thank you.
And thank you. Ms. Wolfe, please.
Thank you. I also want to thank tonight's sponsors for hosting this forum. Through my established, steady leadership, our county is headed in the right direction. I'm proud of the progress that we've made on so many important issues during one of the county's most challenging economic times. We've put the county's financial house in order. We've increased our fiscal reserve and reduced our unfunded pension liabilities. We have erased huge deficits while maintaining vital services. We've maintained the highest bond rating given to local government, and we continue to see a steady rise in all major indicators, including sales tax, transient occupancy tax, property tax, increased home sales, and construction activity. Unemployment countywide is only 6.7%, the lowest it has been in years and one of the lowest in the state. At the same time, we're making progress in many other areas. We have improved emergency preparedness. We've seen a decrease in juvenile and adult crime. And I'm pleased to say that I've been serving on the Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council and have witnessed this decrease along with my service on the South Coast County Gang Task Force. We've also embarked on a remarkable transformation on our alcohol, drug, and mental health services. We continue to protect our neighborhood and residents by enforcing community plans. And we've made tremendous progress in updating the Eastern Goleta Community Plan. Our air, water, and beaches are cleaner. We are continuing to reduce our backlog of road and other maintenance. And we found a solution to protecting Goleta Beach Park, but we still have a lot more to do. I am a supervisor who values and respects public input and puts in the hard work for our residents. I study the issues and I get things done. I want to thank everyone here in the audience and those watching on television, and I respectfully request your vote on June 3rd in this very important election. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the candidates. And we want to thank the volunteers that made this evening possible. Larry Nimmer of Nimmer Productions for videotaping the forum, Viviana Marzano of Voices for Spanish translation, Gary Atkins for the sound system, and Goleta Valley Community Center for the use of the facility. This forum will have a direct link from the local league website, www.lwvsantabarbara.org, as well as the league's election website, www.smartvoter.org. Informational material from candidates and membership information for the League of Women Voters and the co-sponsors are available at the back of the room. Thank you, candidates, for joining us this
Thank
evening.
you.
We appreciate. We appreciate your drive and commitment to serve our community, and we thank you, the audience, as well, for joining us this evening. We hope you found the program informative and useful as you prepare to vote. We will begin the forum for the Santa Barbara County Sheriff Office at 7:45. Thank you. Good night.